Welcome to Tech in Tech. We are moving to Introduction to HTML. First, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's also the standard markup language we use in creating web pages. HTML describes the structure of a web page. It also consists of a series of elements, and those elements tell the browser how to display the content. The elements also label pieces of content such as this is a heading, this is a paragraph, this is a link, and so on. Don't worry, as we go on, we are going to understand better on what those points are, like headings, paragraphs, links, and so on. But do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Now, looking at the next picture beside, this is a simple HTML document where we have the doc type HTML, we have our HTML. You can see an arrow that looks like a less than sign. It's called the opening tag, while the one that looks like a greater than sign is the close tag. Now we have, after our doc type HTML, we have our HTML, we have the head, we have the title of our page, then we close the head, we have the body, then we have H1, my first HTML heading, we have P, my first paragraph and page, then we close the body and the HTML. Don't worry, we are going to understand each of all these elements and what it means now. Now let's explain those terms. Now the first part, that which is the doc type HTML, it is a declaration which defines what the document type is. Just like today, we make use of HTML5 document. So when we put this doc type HTML, we are trying to tell the browser that whatever is going to read out for us is in HTML5 document. And the next one is the HTML element, which is the root element of an HTML page. The next is the head element, which contain meta informations about the HTML page. So in our head, we put all the meta informations needed for our HTML page. And don't forget, the doc type HTML helps to describe, telling the browser the kind of document it needs to be read. Now the next is the title page. The title element specifies a title for the HTML page, which is shown in the browser title bar or in the page tab. Most times when you browse, you will find out that when you click on a link or you browse on your browser, there's always a page title above the document or the website that was opened. So it is the title that was put in the title page that will appear there. So whatever I put will show on it. Don't worry, we are going to see a vivid description of what we are talking about here. It's always shown in the browser title bar or in the page bars tab. Now let's go to the next one. This is a close tab for the head. When you see this stroke and this arrow, it's trying to tell you that you have to close the headings after you have put your title. You are still going to understand better on what a close tag means in our next slides. Now let's move to the next point, that is the body. Now the body element defines the document body and is a container for all the visible content, such as your headings, paragraphs, images, your hyperlinks, tables, lists, and so on. Now the next one, which is the H1, is an element that defines a large heading. Now in programming language, like when you're dealing with our HTML, we have the H1 tag, H2 tag, H3 tag, H4, 5, and 6. The 6 is the list heading. Now the way you put it accordingly shows, like for H1, it shows the highest heading. Then you will see that your word will be so very big. Now when we have H2, it gives you the next bigger value, which should not be as big as the first H1. Then H3 too will not be as big as H2. H4 will not be as big as H3. Then H5 will not be as big as H4, and so on. But the list is the H6, which will be so very tiny. So we make use of the H1 whenever we want to write an heading and we want it to be so bold and visible. Now, the next is our P. The P element defines a paragraph. Maybe you want to put a paragraph to a particular page, so you have to use your P element. And this is our close tag. We have to close our body, content, and our HTML files. Now let's go to the next slide, but do not forget to click on like and subscribe to our channel. Now in the next slide, we want to remember we'll be talking about HTML element. Now we want to understand better what it means. An HTML element is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. Now what do we mean by a start tag? Now look at this. We have tag name. This is a start tag that starts with a less than arrow and it closes the greater than arrow. This is a start tag. Then you put whatever content you want. Then at the end, you need to close the tag. Now this stroke shows that you are closing whatever you've written as your content. Now the HTML element is everything from the start tag and the end tag. If you do not put your end tag, sometimes it might read the values for you, but at the end, it might probably be malfunctioning when you browse that page. Now the HTML element is everything from the start tag to the end tag. So take note of this end tag. They are always important when we are writing our HTML. Now looking at this heading, H1 heading, my first heading, after putting your HTML, you have to close your tag H1 to show that you are true with the content you've written. And the second one as well, P, which is the paragraph, my first paragraph is just an example of content that you wrote. You can write anything you want. Then you have to close it as well with the close tag P. But take note, something is so important. Some HTML elements have no content. They have no content. What does that mean? Like this break element, BR, is a break element. Like if you want to break a particular content, you want it to go to the next page or the next line, you put a break element. And take note, break elements are called empty elements. What does that mean? Empty elements do not have an end tag. Just like on a normal HTML element, like you want to put your H1, my first heading, P, remember they all have an end tag. But for break, it does not have an end tag. It's an example of an empty element. Now, remember we talk about our tag, talk about example of our HTML content that we can write. Now, how can we now view it on our web browser after you've written your HTML elements, but you want it to be viewed in your web browser? Now, the purpose of a web browser, remember in our web browser, we have a lot different one. We have Chrome, we have Edge, we have Firefox, Safari, and so on. The function is for them to read the HTML documents and display them correctly. Those web browsers are already programmed to read HTML documents. And a browser does not display the HTML tags. Take note, they do not display the HTML tag, but uses them to determine how to display the elements. Those tags they help to determine how to display the elements. Now, for example, earlier, remember we talk about this code, a simple HTML document. Now, all these will not be shown, doc type HTML, HTML head, title, head, but it will not be shown the browser. These are only what will be shown, my first heading, my first paragraph. But this H1 is trying to tell you how this my first heading will be shown on the browser, telling you that it's the heading 1, the highest heading, and should be bold. Why this P is trying to tell us that the next content here should be a paragraph. Now let's see how it is shown on. You can see this picture here. My first heading alone is showing and my first paragraph. This shows that all these things, doc type HTML that was written earlier, was not visible on the browser. It is only the content inside the tag that will be shown on the browser. And this is it. So let's continue. Do not forget to click on like and subscribe on our channel so that you put on your notification to see more of our videos. Now let's now see how HTML page is being structured. Below is a visualization of an HTML page structure. First, we have our HTML, then the next is the head, then we have the title page, what we show in the upper place of our browser, then we have the close tag of the head, then we have the body, which is the content of what to be visible in your browser, what you want to show, what you want to display, just like what we see in different websites today. Then do not forget, after you've written all your content, you have to close the tag back. You have to close the body by putting an enter. And remember, when you start whatever you want to write down as your code, you have to close everything as well with your what? end tag html. But take note, the content inside the body sections, like this content here, will be displayed in a browser, and the content inside the title here, like the content here, page title, will be shown in the browser title bar or in the page tab. Now let's now see what HTML editor are. Remember we said whatever you code will be shown in your browser. Now how do we code? How do we let it show in our browser? We have HTML editors for this to be successful. Before we can do that, we need to learn HTML using Notepad or text edit. Those that use Mac, they use text edit, and if you are using a PC, you use Notepad. Web pages can be created and modified by using professional HTML editor. However, for learning HTML, we recommend a simple text editor as a beginner, like Notepad PC or text edit that is used on Mac. We believe that using a simple text editor is a good way to learn HTML. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to follow the steps below to create your first web page with Notepad or text edit. Now, first, step 1, to open your Notepad if you are making use of PC. But remember, your system or PC need to start from Windows 8 or later one, either Windows 10 or so. What will you do? First, open the start screen of your system, then the Windows symbol, which is the Windows symbol at the bottom left of your screen. Then type Notepad. But if you are using a Windows 7 or earlier, these are the steps you need to follow. Maybe your PC is not up to Windows 8, maybe Windows 7. Then what will you do? Open your start screen, then click on programs. Then after you click on accessories, then you click on Notepad. If you are using text edit as a Mac, then what will you do? You open Finder, then you click on applications, and you can click on text edit. Also, change some preferences to get the application to save files correctly. In preferences, you click on format, then you choose plain text. Then under open and save, check the box that says display HTML files as HTML code instead of formatted text. Then open a new document to place the code. If I'm too fast, kindly go through the step one after the other so that you can follow the processes that have been explained. Now the step 2, after your notepad has been opened, what will you do next? Then we can write some HTML code. You can write or copy the following code. Check the code on the comment section. You can just copy and paste on your notepad, just as you can see in this picture. Then now let's see the results in our browser. But first, before it can be shown on your browser, you need to follow the step 3 I'm going to show you next. On your step 3, save the HTML page. Now, how can you save the HTML page? Save the file on your computer by clicking Ctrl S. Then, after select file, save as notepad menu. Now, you can name the file index.html and set the encoding to UTF, which is the preferred encoding for HTML files. Now, immediately you click Ctrl S, this picture here will be displayed. You can see I've saved my file to be index.html, or you can use index.html. Then save as file type, you can click all files. Then make sure that this encoding is UTF-8. Then you can click on save. But take note, you can use either .html, just like what is being used in the picture, or .html as your file extension, because there is no difference. It is up to you. Now, what's the next thing to do after we saved our file? Then view the HTML page in your browser. How will you do that? Open the saved HTML file. Go to your file, open the saved HTML file in your favorite browser, whatever you want, Firefox, Chrome, or so on. Double click on the file or right click and choose open with any browser you wish. Then the results will look like this. Can you see? My first heading, my first paragraph. Now, let me show you mine. This is my notepad. Now, I've copied and pasted the code that was written. We have doc type HTML, we have it. Now, this is H1, my first heading. Then the paragraph, my first paragraph. Now, let's now see I want it to show on my browser. I've already saved this using tech.html. So this is it. So I'm going to right click now, then open with, I'll choose my favorite browser, Google Chrome. Now let's see the result. Here is the result. You can see that because we use h1 tag, we have the highest heading, my first heading, and that p, which is paragraph, the content move to the next paragraph. Now let me show you something else. We have in my notepad, if I change this to h2, okay, let me copy and paste this and change this so that you'll be able to see the difference between your h1 tag, your h2, and your h3 tag. So that you compare them and see how it is being used. H3. But remember, always make sure you close each of your tag. They are very important. Sometimes, even though you do not close it, it will surely give you what you want. But in the process, and long gone, you are going to make use of your file. You must start malfunctioning, and it might not give you the right results you want. So I want you to see the difference between those headings, to see the difference between heading 1, heading 2, heading 2, heading 6. Remember I said heading 6 is the last, which is the least heading. So let me save, Control S. So I've saved. So I'll go back to my browser and refresh. Can you now see? So this is my first heading, is heading 1, H1 tag. This is H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. So it matters the kind of content you want, probably a little, a small content. So if you want it large, big, small, so you put, it matters the tag, kind of tag you use. Now let's continue, but do not forget to click on like and subscribe on our channel. Let's move to the next stage. The next stage now is we want you to try it yourself. I want you to write your first code yourself. You can just copy the code on the comment section and paste on your notepad, something like this. As you can see, you copy it and paste on your notepad. Remember to Control save and click on the favorite browser you want. After doing that, and see the result. If you are not getting the result that was gotten, like something like this on my browser, know that there's something wrong. So there's nothing bad. Can keep trying, go back to the video, read it, look at the content, study it over and over again, and practice the same way. Try it yourself. Give yourself few minutes or seconds to try this and see your results. Now, congratulations on writing your first code. I congratulate you. So feel free to ask questions on the comment sections and the Telegram group. Link to the Telegram group is on the comment section. Then if you are finding it difficult to write the code, write whatever challenges you are facing. And if you've gotten your own, I would like you to screenshot the result on your browser and send it to the YouTube channel, the comment section. So let's see and score you. Or on the Telegram group, you can send your screenshot and let's see whatever questions you have. We are ready to discuss it together. So the assignment I'm going to give you for this video is, I want you to write your first code using any code editor. Then you send a screenshot on the comment sections or on the Telegram group. I don't want you to write the same content or the one I asked you to copy on the group. I want you to create something different, like different content using the H tag and the P tag. So do not forget to click on like and subscribe our channel. So watch out for our next video on the HTML basics example. So I'm sure you enjoyed this video. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.